Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Nintendo News Daily, and we've got some exciting stuff today. Obviously, the thing that I'm going to start talking about first is Splatoon 3, because we've got some hints about the story as well as the release date, and that's just too juicy to not report on. But I also have some interesting stuff about Animal Crossing, some new features that the update added that weren't actually shown in the trailer that some people noticed. Plus, the team that worked on Paper Mario has given us even more information on what they can and can't do with those games. Obviously, we reported on that interview last week. Turns out they've given some more information on that. And the game-breaking bug in Paper Mario that locked you out of beating the game if you did a certain thing, they are working on the patch, but it's not ready yet. We'll go into that full story. We also have a new Switch game coming out later this year that I'm very excited about. And I thought at the very end of this news segment, I'd show you guys a very, very cool fan-made poison-type Eeveelution. So all that said, I'm your host, Jake Randall. Don't forget to drop a like, consider subscribing, and let's get right into it. So with this first story, Splatoon 3, obviously very exciting. The important thing to note is that all of these are rumors. That's why it was in the title and the thumbnail with a big old question mark, because we don't know for 100% if this is true or not. However, according to multiple sources and reports, I always put my sources in the description, Splatoon 3 is in development, which isn't crazy to think about. It makes sense. The first Splatoon came out in 2015 for the Wii U, sold over 5 million copies, which for a Wii U game is outstanding. Of course, the second one came out very close to the launch of the Nintendo Switch in 2017, 2 years later, and that has sold over 10 million copies, which is equally amazing. So now it's been about 3.5, nearly 4 years later, and Splatoon 3 is looking to come out, according to reports, in 2021, which would be very exciting. The gameplay is tried and true. That's expected to stay the same. Fans really find that Callie's new role suits her very much, so that's also expected to stay the same. But there's no rumors or leaks about the new main character for Splatoon 3. But there's actually been interviews with the creators, and in those interviews, they've kind of alluded that Octavio will continue to use mind control like he did in the first game. And what I think is very exciting about this is Nintendo is apparently working a lot more on the single player mode, which obviously, if you play Splatoon 2, if you put a lot of hours into that game, you're playing the multiplayer. Is more than anything else. You might have enjoyed the single player, but that's why you play it. To get a beefier single player experience would be a welcome addition. And of course, as long as they're keeping that great multiplayer gameplay intact, then obviously it's not hurting anyone to have a really awesome single player campaign and story. So this 2021 release date is pretty much purely speculation outside of those rumors. We will have to wait for official confirmation from Nintendo to confirm that at all, but this is making its rounds online, and of course, being Nintendo news, I had to report on it for you guys. Next up in the news, obviously we reported earlier that Animal Crossing was getting its summer update 2 today, and of course we reported all the things that were coming to the game, like the ability to dream, the fact that we had cloud saves, hallelujah. Another feature that wasn't shown in the trailer that's being patched back in is a unique feature that was a glitch previously with the camera. And basically, it allowed you to remove the clock and everything that would clutter the screen to take really crisp photos in photo mode and screenshots. And people really used that to kind of take these beautiful photos of their island, and then it was patched out. Well, now it's being patched back in, but you can actually choose it easier because it's actually being patched back in intentionally, not to be used as a glitch, but to be used as a feature, which I think is the right move. That glitch wasn't hurting anyone. It was purely just to show off the game. It's a win-win for Nintendo and the players that this is being added back in. But in our next story, keeping with the Animal Crossing theme, this is definitely something Nintendo does not want out because it's another leak. I've been reporting on this massive leak of Nintendo source code all week. We talked about how the first 3D models of Link were for the Super Nintendo. We showed unreleased Pokemon. We showed that Luigi was actually in the source code files for Mario 64. And today I wanted to show you the design for an unreleased villager in Animal Crossing. Now, this was for the original Animal Crossing for the Nintendo 64 in Japan, which eventually came over to GameCube in America, but in Japan it was known as Animal Forest. It's very hard to actually see the design of this character, so you might have to look up close at the screenshots, but I'll try to do my best to show you guys on screen right here. If you look, the character has a cute, like, little, like, curly Q, like, kind of like this thing right here. It looks like this was supposed to be a cat-type villager because the file name was cat13, and even to this day, in Animal Crossing New Horizons, they will list the villagers that way in the source code. They'll list their species type and then a number. So, like, Raymond would be, like, cat21, for example. I don't know if that's his exact number, but that's how it works. So the fact that it was Cat 13 definitely shows that this was a villager that was supposed to be in the original Animal Crossing, and I thought that was pretty neat, so I wanted to share it with you guys. What do you think of this villager's design? I actually quite like it a lot. So moving on to our next story, in that interview that the team that was working on Paper Mario the Origami King did, they revealed that they were no longer able to make new characters in the Paper Mario series that had anything to do with other Mario games, so no more modified Koopas or Goombas or any other enemies. They have to be already existing in the Mario universe. Well, they actually did a separate interview the other day and expanded on that a little bit, saying that graphically they were no longer able to represent individual characteristics since Sticker Star. So no longer being able to show things like age, gender, etc. in even the Toad NPCs. So that's why, if you're playing the Origami King and you notice that the text is really funny, really smart, it's because the only way they can differentiate these characters and give them any personality is simply through the text. That's the only way they can do it. So that's why there's such a heavy focus on the text of the Toads that you find. And I'm going to read you this quote from the interview right here. Our writer, Mr. Taro Kudo, has been grappling with this difficult challenge since Paper Mario Sticker Star, but has managed to achieve giving all the text a sense of humor. In this installment, Paper Mario the Origami King, we were able to include some Toads wearing an outfit to match their role, and also created original origami characters. So the original origami characters would be characters that have nothing to do with the Mario universe. For example, a boss that might be colored pencils, or a boss that might just be a generic Firebird. They're allowed to do completely original characters, they just can't be linked to the Mario universe. Again, that was in last week's interview, but this interview just clarified that a little better with the text with the Toads. Speaking of Paper Mario, the team really has their hands full right now because they are aware of the game-breaking bug and promises they're going to fix it as soon as possible. If you haven't heard about this, basically what this bug is once you get to a certain part, you need a special pass to get to another area. However, if you leave that area before completing the whole quest and then come back, the Toad doesn't remember that you already gave the pass and it's out of your inventory. So you're effectively locked out of that area and no longer able to complete the game. So that's very bad. It hasn't affected too many people because most people will just play through that whole area before they try to leave. But it has affected some, obviously, because some people are like, oh, you know what? I want to go back, maybe buy something at the shop. And then they go back to the area and they can't get in anymore. So that's very, very bad. So it's good to hear that Nintendo's aware of this and they're going to be fixing it ASAP. I knew that they probably would for this serious of a bug in such a big game for them, a first-party game. Their direct quote was that they are working on these issues and will address them in a software update. So hopefully that comes sooner rather than later, but at least it's going to be fixed. Next up in the news, this is a friendly reminder that if you live in North America and you had bought the game vouchers from Nintendo's game voucher program, the program basically allowed you to pay $100 for 2 game vouchers, which you could then trade on the shop for 2 different Nintendo games, those being $60 games. It would effectively save you $20 total if you use them to get 2 brand new games around launch from the eShop. However, that program ended in North America. In the UK and Australia, other parts of the world, that program is still fine. You don't have to worry about it. But your passes are actually going to expire if you don't use them soon in North America, if you have them. This promotion actually ended July 31st in North America last year. So tomorrow is July 31st, 2020. And if you don't use them by then, they're gone. So if you're watching this today and you still have those vouchers, there's 40 games that you can choose from, including Paper Mario, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Astral Chain, Fire Emblem Three Houses, Animal Crossing New Horizons. If you haven't used them, I don't know what you're waiting for because there's some pretty good games out there, but make sure you do. Next up, another new Nintendo Switch game was announced, and it's something that I'm personally excited for. I don't know how other people will feel about it, but it is a video game version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I love those game show style video games like Deal or No Deal on the DS. That was great. I have Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune on my Switch, and I'm definitely going to be picking up Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It comes out November 2020. For those of you who are too young to remember the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think they might still do Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like some version of it. But back in the day, like 15, 20 years ago, when Regis Philbin was the host, that game was like the #1 show in America for a minute there. Everyone loved it. You basically answer 15 questions. Every question you get right, you get more money. And if you get all 15 questions right, you win $1 million. You have different lifelines you can use to help you on your way, like phone a friend, ask the audience, 50-50, which eliminates 2 of the answers, so you don't have to pick between 2. Just a fun trivia style game show. But what's really cool about this is there's a multiplayer mode that will allow you to compete with 100 players simultaneously. And this isn't confirmed, but I'm assuming that when you use your Ask the Audience lifetime, it'll probably just pull the answers from everyone that you're competing with that already answered the questions, which would be really neat if they did do that. But I love like the Tetris 99 style of just like battle royale style like gameplay that's not Fortnite or not a shooter. And I think it would be really, really fun to have like battle royale Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And we'll see how I do against some of these youngins. Get ready. When this game comes out, it's probably going to be a game that I live stream, and I encourage I encourage anyone that attends my live stream to pick this up too, and we can play together, have some fun. Well, last story of the day, I just saw this and thought the design was so cool. This is a fan-made design for an Eeveelution. It's called Scorpion, which is such a clever name. It kind of looks like Espeon, but a lot more aggressive with that big scorpion tail. And it's got like kind of like the poison splotches on it. And it's been such a long time since we had a new Eeveelution. Can we get one in the Crown Tundra, please? Like, please, Nintendo? Obviously, we get fan-made Eeveelutions all the time. I would love to still see a ghost-type Eevee. Maybe it evolves if it gets knocked out in battle 10 different times. Like, that would be so cool. The poster said the evolution method for this would be that if you level up Eevee while it's poisoned, it will evolve into Scorpion. And that's so cool. I also would love to see a dragon-type Eevee. And apparently the person who made this over on Reddit is going to be working on a dragon-type Eeveelution and a normal-type Eeveelution. Now, the bittersweet thing about these Eeveelutions is that when Nintendo sees fan-made designs, they then can't use that design or anything that even looks like it. Because people could say, oh, they're just using a fan-made design. So they literally can't do it. So now because this is out there and it's made, Nintendo can never ever use anything that looks anything like this. So that's sad. So that's why I don't like to see too many of these. But honestly, it seems like Nintendo just like has stopped the Eeveelutions, which is really upsetting. So I'm glad someone is giving Eevee the love it deserves. Anyways, guys, that wraps up today's news. I hope you enjoyed all the stories I reported on today, especially Splatoon 3. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite story was, what your favorite Eeveelution is, and what your favorite new Eeveelution could be if they made one. Don't forget to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date on all the news every single day, Monday through Friday. And I will see you guys tomorrow on the next Nintendo News Daily. Bye, everyone.